All right, so look, man, hear me out, right? Because I know I could come off as a hero or I could come off as an asshole, depending on who's listening to this. And it's not look, it's not my intention to be either. Okay, because I could come full circle with this, so hear me out. Okay. Now, when it comes to look, the service industry is an industry that I worked at as a teen. Okay, and I would never work at it again. Okay, that's just me, right? And that's just because it's annoying. Okay, just being straight up. So I have a lot of respect for waiters and waitresses and what they do, right? Um, Granted, I was a teen and I was immature, but that's a different story, you know. So I'm not here to shit on them. That's not the point of this video, right? But there's a lot of it's complex, man, right? It's very very complex, and it's let me put it this way, right? I'm a good tipper. I know I'm a good tipper, right? And but I don't not tip based off of what I spend, right? Let me tell you why. So if I go to a restaurant, okay, if I order a $5 sandwich or a $30 T-bone steak, right? The way I see it, it's just my personal opinion. Maybe the cook's gonna work a little harder, but the waiter or the waitress is gonna put the same amount of effort to bring me my plate. You know, I'm the one spending the money. I chose to buy a more expensive plate. Like I never got in the logic behind spent more. You buy a more expensive plate, a more expensive drink, you tip more, right? And I never got that logic. That's me, right? Now I still tip the 15%. I just do, but I never understood the logic, right? However, I tip based off how long I'm there and how much work I believe I put the waiter or the waitress through, right? So, look, man, if I go to a restaurant, it's lunchtime, I decide to go to a steakhouse very quick, and I just want to have a T-bone steak, and it's an expensive steak, but literally, I'm just ordering my steak, a glass of water or some lemonade or tea, whatever, right? And that's all I do, right? I eat my steak, I drink my lemonade, and I leave, right? I'm not gonna leave a big tip. Like I'm just not. Like I get it, right? Oh, it's an expensive plate. You spent a lot. I'm just not gonna do it because I know I never asked for another drink because I didn't have time for it, right? I just wanted to eat and get out of there. And I'm only using that example, okay? It's just it's not like every day we'll have a fucking steak, but I'm just saying. I don't care how much that steak was and how much the drink was. I don't think you're entitled to a big tip. I just don't. Just because I bought something expensive, right? Now, if I go on a date, if I take someone on a date, right, and we don't even get something expensive, like we just have like an appetizer and we're just talking, we get one or two drinks and then we start drinking water, which is free, right? Let's say hypothetically, overall, that costs less than the steak I had for lunch. If I'm there and I'm talking to my date for about 2 hours, it's and I'm getting good service, right? Then I'm gonna leave a good tip. That's me. I think to me that's more entitled to a good tip than based off of the amount of money I spent, right? Now, look, I get it, right? If I'm buying a lot of drinks and it accumulated, okay, to a big amount, that's still falls under the time and effort the waiter or the waitress have to put in, right, for me being there. Regardless of how much, whether I'm ordering water, whether I'm ordering a soda, a beer, whatever I'm ordering, okay, what I'm spending, the dollar amount is irrelevant. To me, it's the effort I'm putting that waiter or that waitress through, right? And, and their service, because, and the only reason I'm doing this video, right, is because I just want to make sure that, that I make this clear. First of all, and I was going to mention at the beginning of the video, but the reason I'm making this video is because on Facebook, I saw this post about this girl, and she posted a picture of a receipt. Somebody spent $105 on in food or whatever, and they tipped her $5, and she was upset about it. Like, she was so mad, right? And I just look, I get it, but I don't feel you should get mad about it, right? And this is what I believe waiters and waitresses should understand. You work for a business, right? And I'm not going to give you the typical, well, if you don't like it, get another job. And like, I'm not going to do that, right? But this is all I want to say. The restaurant you work for is dependent on every single person that shows up and spends money, okay, at that restaurant, right? The big tippers, the low tippers, and the non-tippers. Every single person that walks into that restaurant contributes to that place of business, okay, and keeping that business afloat. The rude customers, the nice customers, all of them, they contribute to that. When they show up, right, and they eat, I get the fact that motherfucker just stayed here a whole hour, ate a shitload, and left no fucking tip. I get that can be very frustrating and upsetting. I'd be upset too, right? But those people, however, if those people didn't, like, remove those people from the equation, if those people stop showing up to the restaurant and spending, you may get mad that they spend $100 and then leave a tip, but that's still $100 they left to that restaurant, right? And it's helping that restaurant stay afloat. Without those people, that business does not stay afloat. Thus, you don't have a job, right? Or that specific job. So yeah, it's frustrating, but you have to look at it from that perspective, okay? Number two. So in my opinion, this is my opinion, and I would, if I was a congressman or a politician, I would push this shit into law so fast, right? If a customer does not leave a tip, all right, in my opinion, the business should give at least 5% of whatever that customer spent to the waiter. That's what I believe. I think the business should pick up that tab, right? If no tip is left. That's my opinion, right? And a lot of people are going to say, well, you can't do that. Well, why not? It's the business is making the waiter and the waitress depend, and I don't think it's fair that, like, here's the thing. Well, why should it all fall on the customer? So if the customer spends, just look at it from this perspective. They show up and they spend $150 on food, drinks, and let's say they're the biggest asshole in the world and they don't leave a fucking tip whatsoever, right? That business, come on, they made some profit out of that. And if they leave no tip, in my opinion, at least 5% of that should go to the waiter or the waitress, right? So I think that's fair, right? I think that would work better than raising the minimum wage. I think that would be more effective, okay? And honestly, I think that's the better way to go, right? Because it's 5%. It's not going to hurt the business too much, right? And the waiter or waitress gets something out of it. It's not going to be the amount that they could have gotten if the person was a decent person, left a good tip, right? But at least it's something, right? That, that's what I think. That's what I think. But I think it's important for before you go on the internet and on social media and post about, oh, this person just let me a $5 tip and they spent over $100. Listen to what you're saying. That person spent $100 in the place of business that you work for, and they let you a $5 tip. I get that that's because of our culture and because you're depending on that's very frustrating. I get that. But from the outside, you got to understand how people look at that. Like, and you also have to understand that those people help keep the business you work for afloat. Okay. And since that business is afloat, let's be honest, there's good tippers as well. Okay. I know motherfuckers that are way more generous than me. All right. And I believe I'm a good tipper, to be honest with you. I just tip based on circumstance. That's me. Okay. If I'm not going, if I'm going in for a quick meal and I'm out, like it's not going to be a big tip. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm not taking a lot of your time. I'm not asking for refill in the drink. Okay. Like it's just, I'm just going to eat my meal, have my drink and get the hell out of there. It's not going to be a big tip. If I'm taking your time and stuff like that, of course, me personally, I'm going to tip based off of that. Right. If I was there a whole hour talking to my date and I get the fact that I'm taking your time. I get that if I would have left already, someone else, you could have served somebody else that they would have given you a tip, and you live off of that. So I'm gonna tip you. I'm gonna try and make that up for you, right? I don't base off a dollar amount. Okay, I just don't. Right. So that's me. But I know dudes that show up, buy a $5 sandwich and tip $20. Okay, there's people that tip really good. So let's not act like the good tippers and the bad tippers. To a certain degree, if you're doing a good job, don't level out. Okay, let's not act like it doesn't. Okay, because I've seen people get tipped very well, right? And in circumstance, like for every story of someone that worked their asses off and they did not get what they probably should have gotten tipped, I know stories of people that did a horrible job and got a real good tip. Like I know people that tip very good even if the service was bad because they feel guilty, right? And to be honest with you, I'm one of those people. Okay, I've never in my life, no matter how bad the service was, left $0. Okay, I may have left $2-3, but I would leave something. Okay, and it would have to be really bad. And I've had some terrible, terrible experiences at restaurants, right? And I've had some great experiences. Okay, it's the way it is, right? But anyway, I just thought I put that out there. I think what I propose is very fair. And to be honest with you, I think it would work better than raising the minimum wage. At least for the service industry, I think it would, right? Um, and that's what I think. Right now, I will say that this place that like they made like $3.45 an hour. That's way too low. Okay, that's way too fucking low. It's come on. Um, Look, a lot of politicians don't understand the service industry that much. I kind of do because when I was a teenager, I worked in it. But um, in my opinion, it's I could maybe be wrong about this, but there's a thing called the rush hour, and for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and maybe depending on the times of the shifts, they can pay people more, right? And that's just my opinion, okay? But I don't know. I wouldn't even touch that. But that's my thoughts, okay? But just a message to waiters and waitresses out there: don't look for every time you post something complaining about a tip. And I'm not saying it doesn't affect me, but I know people that will take that personally. And next time they go to a restaurant, they're going to be super judgmental. Okay, they're gonna go in there with a feeling of, oh, these waiters and waitresses, they feel so entitled. Like, you're not doing any good. Okay, like it's not doing anybody any good. Like, you're just not. And unfortunately, a lot of these assholes and people that don't tip in your line of work, those people are needed because the business needs their money to keep you afloat. It's just the way it is, right? But don't every time you post something like that, it all it does is rub people the wrong way. Even if you have a point, right? Let's keep in mind you're posting this on Facebook or on social media or talking about it on YouTube. Let's be honest, it's an anecdotal story, right? And if you look at the comment sections, there's a lot of people saying, well, she probably didn't do a good job, and like, and it kind of creates an environment of the customer versus the waiters and the waitresses and the service staff, right? That's all it does. Not with everybody, but some waiters, some waiters going to pay for that dumb post you made, right? Someone who could have probably gotten a $10 tip is going to get a $5 tip because you complained about a $5 tip online. Like, some asshole's going to say, well, you know what? I'm just going to tip people $5 now because you're acting entitled. It's doing no one. It does no good for anybody. It just doesn't. Okay, that's just the reality. That's just the way it is. Um, I used to train a lot of people for sales. Okay, and this is different than the service industry. And it was for a certain company, and look, sometimes they'd be on the phone for 30 minutes, and it was a perfect pitch, all the effort in the world, and we're great customer service, just for in the end for the customer to say, I'm going to think about it, man. I don't know yet. And then they hang up, right? And they would complain, I just did this fucking bullshit. It's fucking up my commission. You wasted 30 minutes of my time and blah, 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 right? Well, it's just the way of the wind. Like, but I would tell them, you don't complain about the 5-minute call where you literally didn't have to do much. They fucking signed up for the service. It's like everything evens out. You know, but if you stop putting the type of effort that you put in that 1 30-minute call that you didn't get the sale, if you stop putting that effort, you're not going to get as many sales at the end of the month, right? Like, it doesn't mean you stop hustling because the one time you hustled, it didn't work, right? It's just look at it like pitching. It's just because you keep, that's the analogy I would use anyway. Okay, lame shit, right? Lame as fuck, but that's the analogy I would use. I'll be like, Roger Clemens was a great pitcher. Okay, you think every time you threw a great pitch, because you're not too do in sales, you pitch something, right? Every time you throw a great pitch, does that mean that they're gonna, that they never hit a home run on his ass? That he always got a strikeout? No, but it doesn't mean he stopped his technique. It doesn't mean he stopped throwing great pitches. Because if he started throwing terrible pitches, okay, he wouldn't become the great player he was, right? So there you go, all right? Anyway, so it's the same thing, right? Now, me personally, I don't like the fact that in the service industry, me as a customer, I go in there, I spend money, and the business wants me to pay their employee, right? I don't like that aspect of it personally. Um, but that's just the way it is, Like, I understand that if they had to pay them, $20 an hour, right, that their business wouldn't be, what it was. That there'd be no business. I get that, so I'm not ignorant to that fact. And then I also understand that there's many waiters and waitresses that they don't give a damn what they make an hour because they make a shitload of money off of tips, right? So I get that completely, but it just appears to me anyway, and maybe it's social media and the exposure of it, but there seems to be this like customers and waiters and waitresses, service staff feuding with one another. Meanwhile, everybody's ignoring like the business that has that put in place. It's just I'm just saying. That's why I personally believe, and I'm very genuine about this, right? Because it'll work itself out, right? So let me put it to you this way. So, and I'll end it with this, and tell me this doesn't sound fair, right? If I go to a restaurant and I spend 100, I drop 100 fucking dollars, right? Nice meal and drinks, and this and that, but it's fucking terrible service, and I get pissed off and I don't leave a tip, right? But I spent 100 bucks, so I leave. There's no tip. If the business had to give the employee 5%, right? I get that, there's people that are not going to leave tips even if the service is great. However, you're going to be able to get outliers off of that, right? So if you call Larry to the office and you say, "Hey, look, Larry, everybody gets people that don't tip, but every fucking table you serve, like the company has to, fork out 5%, because nobody leaves a tip for you. Like you're obviously doing something wrong. So you're going to start looking at Larry. You're going to start noticing his patterns, and you're going to start noticing why nobody tips him. And at that point, as a manager, as an owner, right, you can decide to fire that person if they're just costing you money. And at the same time, they don't belong in that line of work because they're not providing good, customer service, right? You see how this would work out. This is what they should do. But at the same time, for people that are good servers, their hard work doesn't just go in vain, right? There's not going to be these tables, these groups of people that show up, and leave no fucking tip and just leave, and they spent $300 and 2 hours there. Then, at the very least, Martha is going to get at least 15 bucks out of it, right? Not what she probably deserves, but it's something. But if Martha's a good waitress, then you're going to notice that there's no pattern with her. That was just an asshole that didn't want to tip her, right? So you're able to work it out. I'm just saying. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe some people think that wouldn't work out. I don't know, right? But I think it would work, to be honest with you, right? I'm just saying, you know. I know. I've heard of businesses that. Well, I actually gone to restaurants where supposedly if you don't leave a tip, they automatically charge a tip, but you can actually request not to tip. But that it just encourages people or discourages them from not doing it because it just creates an awkward situation, But I'm just saying, right? And now that I'm thinking about it, I actually ran into like a certain situation. I was in Phoenix, Arizona in 2015. Okay, I was there with some friends. It was at a bar. I forgot the name of the bar, right? And we did not order food. All we were doing is ordering beer from draft. That's it. Like it wasn't like something spectacular, right? And we had a waitress there, and other people around us were like eating and ordering a bunch of shit. All we were just ordering draft beer. Okay, that's all we ordered, right? Um, I paid the tab. It was like $150. Okay, it was 150 bucks, and I tipped her. I think it was like $12. Okay, and the reason I tipped her that because I like signed off the receipt, and then I had 12 bucks in my wallet, so I just tipped her that cash. She made like such a fuss because it was under 15%. And here's the thing, okay? It wasn't something I intentionally did. It's not like she didn't do a bad job or anything. Um, it was just one of those things. Like it's a lot of times that you don't think about it. You know, you're like, oh, here, like $12, right? Like I'm still like the way I see it is, I just spent $150 in this establishment with a bunch of tall drafts, right? And I tipped $12, right? My friends were broke, by the way. That's a whole nother story, right? But this waitress, I mean, like I'll never forget how she basically asked me. She literally said, "If you ever come again, I'm not going to serve you." Right? Honest to God, I almost said, "Like, what the fuck are you? Like, you don't own this establishment. Like, if I show up, it's your job to serve me. I'm not being rude to you. I'm not like fucking, you know." Um, like, who's to say I won't tip you 20, $30 next time? I don't know, right? And it rubbed me like the wrong way, right? And she made a scene, and it was terrible. All it did was piss me off, okay? And if I ever saw her again, okay, I would not tip her anything. I would not want her to serve me, obviously. And it was a mutual feeling, obviously. You know, she didn't want to serve me. But I couldn't believe she was that upset about it, you know? So if I would have spent $80, like you would have been okay with my tip or what? It's just, it's crazy, you know? It's absolutely insane. Like I know there's other people that, by the way, were making you work a lot more, right, than just serving people draft beer when the bar was literally, okay, 10 feet away from our table, okay? Like relax, okay? And I didn't even look, it's not like I thought about that. That's just what I had cash in my wallet. If I had $20 cash in my wallet, that's what I would have tipped her, okay? It's just what I had cash, right? But I just I couldn't believe it, right? But I know like these other people tipped her a shitload of money. Like it's I'm sure that somebody else tipped her $20 when they spent 40. You know what I mean? Like honestly, I think she thought because she was half naked and with a fucking sports bra on and fucking tight shorts, like she was entitled to a bigger tip. You know, because I saw some other tables dropping 20s on that shit. Okay, well they spent nowhere near what I spent. But it's I'm not like I don't get horny just tip chicks. It's not the way it works for me. It's not gonna happen. Okay, it's I know a lot of dudes get horny and leave big tips, as if you're gonna leave it like, dude. Oh yeah, dude, you're gonna leave a $40 tip for a $60 meal. Yeah, she's gonna take you out back and fuck you, right? She's gonna suck your dick in the back, right? Like it's stupid. Like get the fuck out of here, right? But anyway, I don't know. That's all I got. I gotta go to bed. Okay, I gotta go to sleep. I got fucking jury duty tomorrow. I gotta wake up at 6 a.m. Right? I mean, you're complaining about a fucking $12 tidbit. I gotta wake up at 6 in the morning, right? And drive downtown, and they're probably gonna cancel that shit. And it's gonna be a big fucking waste of my time, right? Because here in Texas, jury duty gets canceled all the fucking time, right? That's life, right? Anyway, out of here.